Welcome to the Managing Infrastructures and Applications session with VMware and Salt. My name is Pradnesh Patil. I'm a product manager at VMware. I work on the vRealize automation product from VMware. You might have heard it as a vCloud automation previously. We just did rebranding last year, and now the new name is vRealize. We are using vRealize name for most of our management products for the brand architecture and all of the other reasons. With me, I have Joseph Hall. He's a Salt Whiz, and we are working together on possible VMware and Salt integration. So the agenda we have for our session today is just quickly go over some of the challenges we face in our work, and then little bit discuss how VMware is thinking about tackling all of these challenges, the solutions we are proposing. The second step is how VMware's management platform is better together with SaltStack, what we are planning there. And not just, you might be thinking, oh, wait, I'm not on VMware's management platform, so how does this apply to me? So whatever the integration we are planning to do, you don't really have to be on that management platform, and I will explain it in a bit, how's that possible. And then the third thing is demo of how this is going to all work out. We don't have entire thing written out yet, but definitely we have something which is demoable. Like how they say, a picture is worth 1,000 words. I would say a demo is worth 1,000 slides. So we'll show you that. So some of the challenges. I have been in this industry for too long, I guess 10 plus years. When I got my computer science degree from the school, I started working as infrastructure admin for a major telecom company. I did it for a couple of years, and then I decided, oh, well, I'll do something else. And then I started writing applications. I did that for a couple of years. Then I did entrepreneurship. Couple of years again, I started doing marketing, and now I'm doing product manager. So you might have guessed I'm not good at sticking to one job profile, but that's not the point I'm trying to make here. The point I'm trying to make here is when I was infrastructure administrator, application developer, I saw some challenges in my organization at that time. Then I started going to these conferences. I started talking with our customers. I started talking with people in this industry. Still, the set of challenges we face are there. The industry has grown a lot, but the challenges are there. For example, let's start with the agility, right? I want to quickly have something so that I can start writing basically code. I don't want to spend time. Previously, 5 years back, getting just a VM provision was a lot of pain. Now that problem is solved. You can get a simple VM quickly. But how about, say, I want a 3-tier web application? It's a nightmare to get that provision. The next step, say, extensibility. I have some investments made in my infrastructure already, and every time a new vendor comes in and tells me a new solution, how exactly that's going to work with my previous investment, how exactly this is all going to piece together, and we can have a complete solution. Inconsistencies. Say I have my dev environment, which looks a little bit different from the test environment, and I need to configure it separately. And now there is a production environment where I have 20 applications. How this is all going to be, say, automatic. You talk about cloud automation, how this is exactly going to work out. Another problem, control, or maybe better word for it is transparency. If you look from the, say, infra guys or ops guys perspective, there is a lot of capacity that's wasted there that people are not using. If you look from the app guy's perspective, oh, well, I really don't want to give that setup back to that bozo because I don't know when I will get that setup back again. He might come back and say me, oh, that's going to take 3 months. So why not I'll hold this setup for a couple of weeks and later use it. But in the meantime, those couple of weeks of not using that bandwidth is going to cost the organization. How do we solve that? So as a VMware, what we are thinking here, as you guys know, we are pioneers in the virtualization technology. We started, like, we spun up the first VM in the entire world, right? And that was on the compute side, and we are extending it now on the networking side with our network virtualization solution, NSX. We are extending it on the storage side, storage virtualization solution. And on top of all of these virtualization, and at different layers, on top of all of the public clouds available in the market, we are planning to do management offerings. That's where our management offerings work. And when we talk about management offerings, these offerings are spread across 3 pillars: automations, operations, and business. So for example, simple thing. Let's go with that 3-tier web application I was referencing to. I want to spin up that application, say, in my data center, or I have option of AWS, or I have option of Microsoft Azure. What's most beneficial to me? How do I figure out? How do I get those numbers? How much this is going to cost me? And that's what we try to address at the business side of it. On the automation side, say I chose vCloud Air. I want to quickly provision this infrastructure, and I want to spin up this application. How can I do it? Do I need to write some more scripts? Do I need to jump from one UI to another UI? That's what we target when we talk about the automation solution. And just provisioning is I would say, just the start of it. Once you provision something, the second step is managing it. You have to do lifecycle operations. 3-tier application, you have to worry about scale out, scale in of that application. You have to measure whether the underlying infrastructure you have, whether that's sufficient for that application needs, whether it's growing out of its boundaries. So that we take care of in the operations. For some of the customers who are, say, federal customers or pharma customers, they have compliance requirements for all these provisioning. That's taken care of, again, in the operations piece. So what's the solution? How do we exactly achieve this? And I'll go into details. This is just a high-level slide. I guess Milind also talked about this in his keynote presentation. The mantra here is, guys, model once, deploy anywhere. So whatever you want, the first thing that you may want to do is model it, what you exactly want. It's exactly similar as, say, you are trying to build a house. You first need to figure out exactly what you want that in a house. Is it a 3 BHK? Do you want 2 bathrooms in there? Or what kind of flooring you want? Something with the application. What kind of infrastructure you want underlying it? What kind of high availability you want there? And that's, we need to target with the, say, model once piece. And when we say deploy anywhere, I mean anywhere. I'm from VMware. I'm speaking as a VMware person here. But when we say anywhere, it has to be on any type of platforms. A lot of times when I talk with people who are not our customers, they tell me, hey, Pradnesh, so you work for VMware on management products, okay? And so you work on managing vSphere and vCloud Air, am I right? Wrong. Though these management products are from VMware, we don't just manage VMware products, but we also manage AWS, we manage Microsoft Azure. We also can manage some other things like IBM Power VC. And on top of this modeling, this sounds great. This sounds almost like euphoria, model once, deploy anywhere. But obviously, I can't let everyone permission to model something and deploy it, say, in production. How do I manage that? And for that, we have policy-based mechanism. And I'll go into details in next slides. So I mentioned modeling something, right? And this is the existing functionality we have in the UI already. We call that model blueprint. And this is our blueprint UI modeling screen. And on the left-hand side, as you can see, there are different OS templates. There are different database servers. On the right-hand side, you will see your different application components. So for example, for your particular application, you need to, say, push out a WAR file on the multi-tier application setup. You will just define it here. There are also, out-of-the-box external services. For example, you want to do load balancing service, which is completely external in this setup. Also, your basic services, like you want to use Apache Web Service. All of these services will be listed here. This is all in the product right now. You can quickly search. For example, if I start typing here, Apache. It does autocomplete and things like that because we imagine there will be a lot of components here. It's a drag and drop functionality. You drag it and drop it on this canvas. Once you drop it, as you can see in this 3-tier application, basic setup, I have database server, I have a load balancer, and I have an app server. Once you start dropping different components, so for example, this is a dot shopping application I have here. You can define the dependencies. For example, you have here database schema for this application. You define dependency between your application and database schema here. So whenever this complete model or a blueprint is pushed into the environment, all of those dependencies are taken care of. So in this screen, you will even get an execution flow. It will show you the dependencies in a lot more detail. In another screen, sorry, I don't have a screenshot for that, but you can modify it as well. One good thing is these dependencies can be across the components, or those can be on the same VM. So you can define dependencies in any way you want. In here, you can also input things like scripts. And our vision with the SaltStack integration is also take this model to a further level where you can say drag and drop Salt-related pieces here. So that say you want to use Salt module to configure your app server, just drag and drop there, specify the properties, and we can take care of orchestration and runtime property binding. One more thing I forgot to mention. Say you want to have the high availability for this app server. This plus sign you see here, you just click there, and you just specify high availability parameters. So you want 4-node cluster. You just click here and specify. And I think in this image, we have 3-node cluster there. So this is how the model looks like. The second step is once you define the model, you add all the other things to it. For example, the cost profile, how much this is going to cost you. And in that way, you can expose it to different business groups, like showback and chargeback kind of functionality. You can also add different SLAs. You can also add different policies. And policies have multiple meanings here. By policies, I mean here is, say I have my dev type deployment, which is not same from my production deployment. So dev, say the standard cycle is I provision it, I manage it, and then I destroy it. But if it's a production environment, you might need a couple of more steps there. Like I want to archive my production deployment. So maybe for compliance reason, or maybe I want to keep a record so it can be used later. So all of those pieces can be done with this product offering. Another piece is, we call it reservations. It's just the extension of policies. So for example, I don't really want to use my gold tier storage for my dev and test environment, fair enough. And I don't really want to maintain track of where everything is going because that's a tedious task. I have seen some people doing it on wiki pages, but believe me, it's not sustainable. So how do you do it? So this software suite gives you the ability to add different infrastructures as endpoints. So for example, I have this capacity for my AWS endpoint. I have this capacity for my, say, vCloud endpoint. You just define the reservations, which map to different users and business groups. And whichever blueprints or models you create, those automatically map to those reservations. So once you define the reservation, say for your developer team, whatever they deploy, that will automatically go into your developer reserved infrastructure. So that's the idea with this policy-based infrastructure. Second thing, interesting thing, is using service-based requests. And I don't know, like, as an industry, why we are still there or why we were there, where if you need something as an application developer, basically what you do is you go into that dump form, input the parameters, and then try to get whatever you want. And sometimes it takes weeks just to get that. And here, somebody is acting as a provider of services. We don't want that to happen. We want to go to the next level, which is self-service catalog. So no dump forms anymore. Or if there are, they are not going to any human. So whatever is modeled, either it can be deployed directly into the infrastructure and application level, or it can be exposed as a self-service catalog item. So here, as you can see examples, it can be as simple as, say, I want a Linux VM box, or it can be complicated as I say, I want a Apache-based Tomcat server, like a PaaS-based application, where I can quickly start writing my applications. And in this self-service catalog, you of course get different options. Basically, you get different categories across which you can spread different self-service items. If you want to do portal branding as per your company, you can do that. So some nice, good bells and whistles there. Also, this self-service catalog is highly customizable. So this catalog, each user will see a different catalog based on their role and based on their reservations. And any type of custom services can be exposed here as well. So for example, the service can be as simple as I want to have backup as a service. It can be exposed as here. Or maybe in Salt terms, I want to have quick run of Salt agent exposed as a self-service item. So for example, in your organization, if you are facing problem of, say, only few people know really well about Salt, and others I don't trust, and they don't want to spend bandwidth in learning Salt in detail, you can create that abstraction and expose those services in this catalog item so that they can be used for your deployments. Now, let's imagine all of this tied together. How will this entire thing operate? You have authentication and role-based authorization for your entire organization. You create different business groups. You factor in your infrastructure, create reservations. You tie all of that to business groups. On blueprint side, you have a cost profiles, different lifecycle operations for those blueprints. When you tie all of this together, you get a complete solution where you can model anything, deploy anywhere, and you can also have the flexibility of defining different rules if you need to do any customization at deployment stage. On top of all of this, we have our DevOps offering for people who want to do DevOps. And in my words, or my favorite definition of DevOps is, it's a communication and collaboration of app and infra teams. I would really love to see that. And so that we can do continuous integration, code can be pushed out very quickly to the production environment. That's the basic idea. That's what we are trying to do, right? And with the CodeStream offering, what we are trying to do is we work with all of these different tools which are currently used in the environments by all of the people in the industry. For example, if you are looking at source control systems, Git, Perforce, if you are looking at, say, build and continuous integration systems, Jenkins, Bamboo, those are some of the popular systems, or repository systems like YAM. We integrate with all of these systems so that artifacts can be very quickly moved from tests to user acceptance testing to production. These are just three stages modeled here. But you can model stages any way you want, right? And what CodeStream allows you to do is create a model of that release pipeline so that you can make sure that whenever you are pushing artifacts to the next stage, necessary steps are accomplished. For example, say I want to make sure before I push artifacts from dev to test, I want to make sure unit tests have been run. You can easily model that. You can define different gating rules so that this can happen. The second thing is artifact management, and that's where we use our integration with the Artifactory, and you can manage your artifacts through that. The third piece is dashboard, where my each stage stands and how my each environment is doing. You can get information about dashboards, that through dashboards. And I was in IBM SoftClear session earlier, and I think the guy of the name was Christopher. He was talking about a situation when I think the name of the company was Knight Investments, and they lost $400 million by not making sure that one of the old libraries weren't removed from their environment. And that happened because that company is an investment company. They make automated trades all the time, and that library didn't get updated. They made all wrong trades for $400 million in 45 minutes. The result was company went bankrupt. Amazing story. And the dashboard, it allows you to avoid specifically something like that. So in the dashboard, you can quickly check where your servers stand, where your environments stand. And in below, you can use any type of provisioning engine. So I talked in length about vRealize automation as a solution, but you can use anything you want, basically. If you have any other management solution, you can use it as well. So this is all great, but are we missing something here? Usually, the data centers, they comprise of a lot of different solutions. What about Cisco solution, like UCS? What about IPAM solutions, Infoblox, BlueCat? What about load balancer solution, FPAM, F5? And in addition, on the application side, you have different web services. You have CMDBs. Sometimes there are service portals. How do we integrate with all of this? And the answer to that we have is vRealize Orchestrator or vCenter Orchestrator. So this is the conduit for our most of management products through which these integrations have been built. To use vCenter Orchestrator or vRealize Orchestrator, you don't have to be on our management platform. This product comes for free with vCenter if you have it in your data center. If you haven't seen it, just ask your administrator to enable it. There is no extra money for this. So all of these integrations, we work with partners. And sometimes we write it ourselves. And we host it on something called VMware Solution Exchange. So if you're in front of a computer, just Google it up, VMware Solution Exchange. Search for anything. Search for OpenStack. Search for F5 Load Balancer. You will find these plugins. And most of these plugins, I wouldn't say all, but most of these plugins are available for free. So you are already spending a lot of money on the management platform or vCenter offerings, so we are not trying to make money here. So these plugins you can just download and start using free. The good thing about these plugins is these plugins, as they are written through vCenter Orchestrator or vRealize Orchestrator, these plugins are customizable. So you can just modify the code quickly. These plugins are extendable. So if you want something else extra and you are not sure when that's going to be on the roadmap, you can just quickly write it up, combine it all together, and start using it in your environment. So interesting piece. Now we are moving to the meat of the dish. So how this is all going to work together. So when we are thinking Salt and VMware together, I talked about that modeling piece. I talked about self-service catalog. I talked about policies. All that goodness, if we combine with amazing capabilities that Salt offers, it's an amazing solution. Because say, if you look at Salt, sometimes there are troubles. Sometimes you want to automate installing the agents on different nodes quickly. You want to automate this. You don't want to write anything. You want to register those nodes. How do you do that? Or you want to have some orchestration and property binding between, say, Salt modules and some other modules in your script. How do you take care of that? So with this combined solution, you get that self-service catalog items. You can expose your Salt items in that self-service catalog. You can apply policies on top of the Salt. You can also do orchestration and runtime property binding with Salt modules and with anything else that you have in your environment. Okay, that's pretty much. Oops, I'm sorry. So what we are working on is Joseph and his team and our team, we are working together on developing the integration through vCenter Orchestrator. And this integration is going to be available for free on Solution Exchange. What we are targeting here is OS configuration, application provisioning, lifecycle management. This integration will have touch points with both of the products. So it will have touch points with automation, CoreStream. And still, if you want to use it raw, and by that I mean just vCenter Orchestrator workflows within your environment with some other management platform, you can do it too. So the workflows we are mainly targeting are installing Salt agents, minion registration, OS configurations, deploying and configure applications, and deregistering minions and teardowns. So this is the example. The last one is of the day two operations or the lifecycle operation that you can do. And these are the workflows we have covered for now, but our thinking is a lot broader than that. It's just because I'm being recorded, I cannot share all of the details. I'll just give one example. For example, you want to do, say, scale out. we are planning to add it as a data operation as well, so that you just hit a button and then the scale out happens automatically with this integration. The next piece is the drift detection. And what do I would like to take, say, a minute just to define what do I mean by the configuration drift. So the big requirement for what we have seen from customers and other people in the industry is maintaining the environment in the same state. You don't want to continuously monitor it. That process needs to be automated. For example, very simple. My Apache web server is running on, say, port number 865, and I want to keep it running there. And if somebody changes manually, I need to know it. So for that, what we are planning to do is work with Salt and use it as a configuration drift detection mechanism, so that can be exposed in the integration as well. So you will get a notification automatically. So that's pretty much it. And let's move to the demo. And I'd like to take a pause here, and I'd like to check with Joseph if he has any comments to add here about the possible integrations. Where are you guys if you want to share?
I don't.
Okay. I'll just pull up the demo. So what we are trying to do in this demo is deploy a WordPress application on a traditional vSphere environment. This demo has limitations. It's just at the tech preview level. So as you can see, we still have that self-service catalog item. The provisioning of the WordPress application has been exposed as a self-service catalog item with all of the goodness of the policies. So you can choose to whom you want to expose this. And they absolutely don't need to know anything about Salt. Just the click of the request button, and they will get the application provisioned there. So let's play this. So once somebody hits the request button, they get different options. Like if it's a WordPress, obviously you want to mention some other parameters there, like who is going to be the username, who is going to be the administrator for the WordPress, and things like that. And how much memory CPU you want on the infrastructure side. So the request is in, no human intervention. You will see this request in your request list. It will start provisioning quickly. First, it will just clone the VM based on the image we have chosen. And then this is the screen from the vCenter orchestrator or vRealize orchestrator. Here it's showing what exactly it's doing. So I was talking earlier about the solution being customizable and extendable. It's very easy. You can just model an extra stage there so that this works as per your environment requirements. And at the same time, you will get the logs and the details of what's happening in the screen below. This is a vCenter console. Here you will see that the clone is copied and then it's powered on. That's just on the VM side. And then the next step will be taken care of in Salt. So once the VM is provisioned, agent is installed. The next step is you want to register the different keys there. So you want to make sure the minion is registered with the server. Did I pause it? Yeah, okay. added those sleep blocks because just to make sure everything is up. So as you can see here, okay. Still unaccepted. Okay. Yeah. As you can see here, this key, which was the new machine, the prod 05, it was unaccepted, and through the integration, we automatically registered the minion with the server, and now its keys are one of the accepted keys. So that will be taken care of through the integration. As you can see, you can always see that whether request has failed or whether it has been successful. We just saw it was successful there on the previous screen. You will get to see the machines which are being managed by the platform here. And here we can expose the different data operations that can be done. Like, as I mentioned earlier, if you want to do scale out on this type of setup, you will just see the data operation. You hit it, and then that data operation will be done. This is just some proof that WordPress is running on that particular port and particular machine. So as you can see, it's your WordPress application just provisioned with the click of button, and you can manage it, configure it as a data operation. Now I'll quickly show you what I meant by data operations there. I have a separate video for that. Just give me a moment. So as you can see, these are the actions you get with each deployment. Here we are choosing right now destroy, but we are planning to do more actions later. And basically what we have done for the destroy action is we have written another set of workflows so that it executes, it deletes the minion from the server, and also it destroys the VM. So that's the idea with this. It's extendable. Say if you want to do something else which we haven't imagined, you can write a workflow for that, and you can expose that action in the management platform. So this can be done by any of the users in your organization. Yeah, you see it's first doing power off, and then it will destroy the machine. All right, that's destroyed completely. It even appeared from the machines being managed by this management platform. So that's one of the data operation. The data operations can be multiple. Say if you want to change the application topology, that can be done as well. If we want to change, say, configuration parameters, that can be another data operation. But we haven't still finalized the list exactly which operations we are going to do. So that's pretty much about it. Now we would like to open for any questions that you guys might have about the platform or about the integration. Okay.
What's the timeline for this full integration vision? Yeah. What's the timeline for the full implementation of your vision for integration with Salt?
So I think that's more of the roadmap information. As I'm being recorded, I think I cannot really answer that. But maybe let's talk offline. I'll be happy to talk. Okay, no more questions, I guess. Thank you, guys. Thank you so much. We appreciate you for showing up for the session. Have a nice day. Thank you.